prisons are a lucrative business, especially in the United States. Where can we find free, cheap labor? Prison, of course. Numerous corporations, including Microsoft, Starbucks, and Colgate-Palmolive, take advantage of prison labor. The U.S. criminal industrial complex functions as a vast system of punishment, control, and exploitation. General and President Eisenhower first used the term military-industrial complex in 1961 to refer to a strategic alliance between the U.S. military and military industrialists with the goal of increasing profits. The stimulus for all this was to be war. During the Cold War, this alliance brought enormous funds to the private sector, in particular through the political and economic support of the state, which increasingly resorted to military force, supported wars, and pushed for large-scale production of nuclear weapons. Today there is a new term, the criminal industrial complex, which refers to the system of punishment, control, and exploitation embodied by the U.S. prison system. Over the past 30 years, the prison population has grown steadily. It has doubled since 1991. Today, the number of prisoners is 2 million, to which we must add 5 million parolees too. The U.S. is home to 5% of the world's population, so the U.S. is home to 25% of the world's prisoners. The ethnic composition of the prison population has been very different from that of the United States since the Reagan government's 1981 to 1989 war on drugs. 63% of the prison population is of African American and Hispanic minorities, while these minorities make up only 25% of the U.S. population. 3. Although there is an obvious correlation between this disparity and the financial situation of minorities and the crime rate in the U.S., it does not explain everything. Many experts believe that it is an insidious continuation of the discriminatory policies of the authorities. Prison has become the most cost-effective system for eliminating those whom society deems superfluous. Why? The Critical Resistance Association fights for the elimination of all prisons in the United States, for the restoration of communities and solidarity. Pilar Moschi, a former inmate and single mother of a 5-year-old girl, is an activist for the association. Here's what she says: since 1970, in relation to protests by African American movements, radical groups, feminist movements, and the general movement against the Vietnam War, the U.S. government has been harshly punitive. At the same time, there were profound changes in the industrial structure. The factory directors, supported by the government, laid off millions of people whose jobs were not in demand. Once unemployed, these people became a danger to society. They were classified as unemployed or potential criminals and put in prisons. They found an easy way to make an economic profit out of it. In 1970, there were 200,000 prisoners in the United States, and today that number exceeds 2 million. Ike Iker, a native of Nigeria, also a critical resistance activist in New Haven, Connecticut, stresses that African Americans have no choice but military service, poorly paid precarious jobs, and illegal activities that sooner or later lead to prison. Women suffer doubly, as wives, girlfriends, or close relatives of prisoners who, because of their lack of adjustment after incarceration, return to their families aggressively. This widespread incarceration has terrible consequences for social groups who are already outcasts of society. High rates of drug use and unemployment, especially among African Americans, Latinos, and Native Americans who are victims of the criminal industrial complex. An African American in 3 is in prison or has served time.